Okay, guys, we're recording and now we're going to go into some goal setting. It's really, truly one of my most favorite parts of what I do here. So I'm going to share my screen. And hang on a minute, just got to move a couple things around here. We are going to go into command. So for those of you guys that are brand spanking new, don't freak out. You may have not even logged into command yet. That's okay. Take good notes, and when you have your user ID and password, start playing in here. The thing I always tell people is play in command. You really can't screw anything up, and if you do, we'll figure out how to get it cleaned up for you. So don't be afraid of the system. I know it is super all-inclusive. Like I said, it's got at least $13,000 worth of technology built into it if you were to go buy this stuff. But we're going to talk strictly about goal setting right now. And I got to tell you, it's probably the biggest miss that real estate agents do on a year-to-year basis. And when I say miss, you have got to plan out your business for a couple reasons. You've got bills to pay, you've got mouths to feed, you've got a license that you need to keep renewing, etc. That all takes money. And if you don't have a good plan in place to say, I need to do X amount of deals this year in order to fund my life, if you don't know what that is, there's chances that you may not make enough money to cover all your bills and feed your family. That's a problem. So you've got to understand how much you need to make and how much business you need to do. And then you also need to track and learn yourself. And what I mean by learning yourself is you need to know how good you are at converting people. Like, how good are you at talking to people and getting them to an appointment? And then how good are you at converting that appointment into an actual contract? And then how good are you at taking that contract and actually getting it all the way to the closing table? All those things are important, and all those things you will learn with us. I promise you that. But it's all about knowing where you're at and where you need to be at. There's somebody on this call that's very near and dear to my heart that's scared to death to spend money around marketing materials. Sheila's over there just a grinning. I ain't saying I'm talking about you, Sheila, but I might be.
It might be me.
It might be. We've always had that conversation of, gosh, Rick, I don't know how much I should spend. And wow, when I really look at it, it's a lot of money. Do I really want to spend that much money? The answer is probably yes, because if you follow the math and it says, hey, spend $12,000 on marketing materials this year, guess what? That $12,000 is going to net you X amount of gross commission income that's going to fund that perfect life. So you do need to spend some money to make money. But like Barry said, don't go buy shiny objects. Don't go buy Zillow leads. That's not healthy for you. But there is a time and a place for you to spend some marketing materials. So before we can ever get there, let's figure out ultimately where you need to be at the end of the year. So if you have command up, great. If not, just take some good notes. So I'm on the main page, and these are all of our applets over on the left-hand side. And if you ever forget which applet means what, you can hover over it, or you can hit the red KW box. It will expand all of your applets, and then you can see where you want to go to. So for today's exercise, we're going to pop into reports. Okay, and I'm hoping everything with commands working fast and good today. So you can see in reports, there's a lot of options up here at the top, but today we're just going to talk about goal setting. So I want you to click into goals. And then we're going to go over here to the right, and I apologize, I've taught this class a few times, so you're going to see I've got numbers in here, but we'll override them and start over. So I'm going to click into my goal settings, and it pops into this page. And I want to talk about this page just for a quick second. You'll see that this is called a Kelly guide. So as you learn more and more about us, you're going to learn you have a Kelly app on your phone. She is your virtual assistant. And she also helps with command in various ways, like saying, hey, if you want to do goal setting, I will help you through it. Let's get started. So she literally will take you through step by step on how to do it. So I'm really following her lead as well when we do this. All right, we're going to move over here to the right-hand side and want you just to ignore all these numbers that you see over on the left. So the first thing we want to do is we do want to set our goals for 2021. And the reason why there's a pull down here is we were just in 2020, and you have the ability to go back and massage your goals anytime you want throughout the course of the year. And there will be a time that you're going to want to do that. You may find you're killing it, absolutely killing it in the business, and you have underestimated your goals. And maybe you got to go back in and massage those. Or maybe you overshot and you're not hitting those goals, and maybe you need to go back and adapt them to a more respective level for yourself. Okay. And our job as leaders is to help you with this. So if you really are brand spanking new and you have no idea, let's sit and talk about it. We'll help you come up with a great goal. All right, the first number we've got to concern ourselves with here is, what is our annual profit goal? And I want to talk about this in depth for a minute. This is not how much money am I going to need to pay my electric bill, to pay my dues. I want to join family reunion. That is not what that number is. That number is at the end of the year, so December 31st of 2021. How much money do you want left over at the end of the year that you can invest in your savings account? You can just put it in your checking account. Maybe you stick it in your wallet or purse. How much profit at the end of the year do you want to have? All right. So let's change this for today's exercise and say at the end of the year, I want all my expenses paid and I want to have an extra 25,000 bucks that I throw in my savings account. Okay. Now let's talk about these two boxes. And these are probably the two most confusing boxes. Let's start over here with cost of sales first. So the easiest way for you to think about cost of sales is they do not occur unless you physically have a sale. So when I hired you, we talked about your splits and your caps. So every time you sell a home, you are going to give 30% of that to the market center up until $20,000 for an individual agent. So you don't pay that 30% unless you physically sell or buy a home for somebody. That is a cost of sales, because if you didn't sell the house, you're not paying the office 30%. And for me, I'm an individual agent, so I have a $20,000 cap. And then as we spoke about, I also pay a 6% royalty into the office. That's capped out at $3,000. So the maximum I pay the office is $23,000 a year. That is my cost of sales. Now, if you're a rainmaker, meaning that you run a team of your own, that's going to look dramatically different, but that's a whole different class today. So your cost of sales is going to be 23,000 bucks. Now, expenses are things that you pay for whether the deal happens or not. So let's say I go get a big listing and I do photography for $200. Maybe I advertise it on Facebook for 50 bucks. Maybe I do some print postcards for a couple $100. I'm paying for that out of pocket, whether that house sells or not. And in 96 months, 9 months, whatever the length of the contract is, if it's not sold, guess what? I still spent the money and didn't earn any commission. Those are called expenses. Now, for this exercise, I also want you to think through your personal expenses. I think it's critical that when you talk about expenses, you talk about everything. So I want you to think about, how much is your mortgage every year? How much is your car payments for a total year? How much is your utility bills? How much is your garbage? How much is your cell phones? Think of everything. And when I teach this class to people, I typically have them bring their last 2 or 3 credit card statements and their last bank statement. Because you'll forget, oh yeah, I forgot I'm a Netflix member and I pay $10 a month for that. Oh yeah, I forgot I have a Sirius radio in my car and that's $30 every 3 months. So think through those reoccurring charges, and every penny, I want you to account for that. And for me, between my business expenses and my personal expenses for this exercise, let's say it's about $85,000. So over the course of the year, what I'm telling the system right now is I'm going to pay about $85,000 in expenses. I am going to pay Keller Williams $23,000 when I do the business I think I'm going to do. And I also want to pocket $25,000 in profit at the end of the year. I'll pause there for a quick second. Any question about these 3 boxes? Okay, good. I'm either doing a good job or you guys are bored to tears, one of the two. All right, the next box I want to talk about is your physical makeup of your business. So Gary Keller and the Millionaire Real Estate Guide will tell you that the perfect real estate business is 50% listings and 50% buyers. Now, for the newer agents, I don't want you to think you're doing anything wrong because your business model may look more like this. You are going to be extremely buyer heavy as a new agent. And there's a couple reasons behind that. How you begin your business is typically through a lot of open houses and referrals and things like that, which are all buyer side heavy. You may get a listing or two, but that's not going to be your strength yet. You're really going to learn how to be a great buyer's agent to start with. But as you grow and become better and better at your job, your ultimate goal is to be about a 50-50 business. Half your business coming from listings, half coming from buyers. The reason that's important is we teach you that with listings automatically come buyers. So the goal would be for every listing you have, you potentially pick up two buyers because I'm selling this person's house who then needs to go buy a home, right? So that's potentially one buy side. And then somebody is going to buy this house that I'm selling. And if I'm dual agent, that could be me. So you have an opportunity to pick up two or three buyers for every listing you have. So, and oh, by the way, listings take a heck of a lot less time than buyers do. When I go do a listing presentation and I get the job, my sign goes in the yard and I certainly work at finding buyers, but I'm not taking buyers to multiple houses over the course of multiple hours during the day. My sign's in the yard, it's doing its job. I focus on my next listing at that point. So listings give you leverage and the leverage is more time back. Okay, so however you feel you want to start, and I would recommend you guys probably start 10 and 90 or maybe 20 and 80 if you're brand spanking new. Okay. But like I said, you can always go back and massage this anytime you want to. All right. The next box is how much commission am I going to typically earn? Now you'll see I have a different amount for listings and a different amount for buyers. So I'm going to dip back into license law for just a quick minute. If you remember, no office, no managing broker, no team lead, nobody can tell you what you and your client want to charge for commission. That's entirely up to you, the business owner. Now, we are going to tell you, we do recommend that you work for the money you're worth, meaning that I typically charge never less than 6%. If you're going to hire Rick Swain and Swain Group, I'm going to charge you 6% or more, depending on what this deal looks like. Now, I'm not out for blood and I'm not out to get 10% commission from everybody. That's not, I would never get a deal if I did that. But I do remain competitive. But I tell you, when they pay me 6%, I tell them this is what you're going to get from Swain Group when you hire me. And it's a long list of great benefits. Now, you certainly can go hire an agent for 4% commission, but I warn you now, what you're going to get for that 4% is going to look dramatically different than what I'm giving you for 6%. So you've got to learn to sell yourself. Now, back to this story. If I'm on the listing side and I charge somebody 6%, it's up to me of how much of that I'm going to share with the buyer's agent. So if it's a relatively easy deal, meaning that the house is in great shape, it's in a decent neighborhood, I'm not going to have to invest a ton of time in marketing and spinning this thing the right way. I probably split 50-50. I'm a-okay with me 3% and the buyer's agent 3%. Why not? The more percent I can give away, the more agents want to show my house, right? It's appealing to them as well. But let's say, for example, I just picked up a big listing. It's $1.1 million. And it takes some unique marketing for that. I had to put articles in magazines. I'm advertising in California, Chicago, New York. That is labor intensive and it's expensive. So in that example, I am taking 3.5% and I'm sharing only 2.5% with the co-broke because it is going to cost me more as a listing agent to get this thing sold. So taking that example, it's entirely up to you what percent you want to use. I will tell you the average is about 2.7% as a norm. So our average price point in the office is $174,000. So if you take 174,000 and you multiply that by 2.7%, you come out with what I have listed here on the buy side of 4,698. So the office's average buy side commission is about $4,700. That's what we'll earn on our average commission. Now you'll see on my listing side, I have a little bit more because I do charge 6% and I usually keep a little bit more than half. And that's why my listing side is a little bit higher. There is lease options. We only have one leasing agent in the office, and that's JJK. We don't encourage you to get into that business at all, and we just encourage you to refer that business over to her. That's a whole nother training class as well. So you'll just leave those two boxes empty. Let me pause there for a second and see if there's any questions so far. Okay, Sheila, doing okay? Okay. All right, so all we're going to do here now is click next. Now, we're going to scroll over here and we're staying just on the right side again, just like on page 1. I'm going to go through what these are. Now, I'm going to give you some recommendations, and once again, entirely up to you on what you put in these boxes. I will tell you that Command is very intuitive, meaning that it learns you and it learns your business. So every time I enter anything into Command, it's learning what I'm doing and it's tracking what I'm doing. On my 51st transaction, these conversion rates will actually become factual and actual from the Command system. It's going to auto generate those numbers for me, but not until my 51st transaction. So I kind of have to be intuitive about this until I hit those 51 transactions. So let's talk about each one of these boxes. So we have a term of leads and contacts, also called METs and not METs. And the easiest way to think about this is a lead is a name and an email address or phone number of somebody that landed in your lap. So whether it's a campaign, whether it's a friend that said, hey, call Rick, I think he wants to sell his house. Those are all leads, meaning that you haven't met them and it's a one-way conversation. You have either spoke to them, you've sent them an email, you've sent them a text or something. They're just a lead. A contact is somebody that is now in two-way conversation with you. Maybe they texted you back. Maybe they called you. Maybe you called them and they answered and you had a conversation. So that lead, who you really didn't know from Adam, is now a contact. So you can see this is saying how many of my leads do I anticipate to truly become a contact over the course of the year? That number is going to be relatively small all the time because I run campaigns all the time and dump in about 20 to 25 people into my database every single week. Well, I don't know these people and I haven't had two-way conversations, but maybe one or two of those, we do end up having a conversation and they go under contract for me. So some of those leads do become contacts for me. It's low, 5%. You can put whatever you want there, guys, but I would make that number relatively low. The next one is how many of those two-way conversations actually want to set an appointment with me? And once again, that's a relatively low number. These are people you're finding through Facebook, social media, word of mouth. Not everybody's ready to sell their home right now, and not everybody's wanting to buy a house right now. So a lot of these contacts are not going to immediately become an appointment. We call those long-term nurtures, meaning you got to stay in contact with these people and eventually they will buy, sell, or invest in real estate. So that number is going to be low. Now, the next one is how many of those appointments do I set with people and then we actually keep that appointment? Well, that number is going to be extremely high. And for me, I could almost say that's 100% because I pre-qualify all of my clients, meaning that if you want to list with me, we have extensive phone call conversations before I ever go sit at your house and go walk your home. I know you truly are ready to list and you want me to come see your home. So when we make that appointment, I know you're going to be there. On the buy side, pretty close to the same thing. If you tell me you want to go buy 123 Main Street and we set an appointment for 6 o'clock on Wednesday, we're going to be there 6 o'clock on Wednesday buying 123 Main Street. So this number should be relatively high for you. Maybe not as high as mine yet, but after a few years in the business, you'll see that climb relatively fast for you. Then the next question is, okay, of all the appointments we physically kept, how many of those people actually end up going on paper? I am not going to win every deal. And if you think you're going to win every deal, you're in the wrong business, guys. We fight hard to get our deals, but you're not going to win every one. Like the example where I said I charge 6%, there are some people that are small-minded enough to say, yep, I'm willing to pay less to my agent and get less services. right? It might sit on the market an extra 100 days because they hired a lesser agent, but they made that decision and I can't control that, right? Same way, we may go look for a home, find a home, and all of a sudden our buyer is no longer eligible to buy a home. Think of COVID, all the people that were in the housing market that then all of a sudden lost their jobs that they didn't anticipate. Those people all of a sudden are unfundable from a mortgage standpoint and they're not able to buy a house. Okay. But this number still needs to be relatively high. If I'm sitting in front of you, I'm going to win more contracts than not. So my number is about 85%. Then the next number is of all those people that went on paper with me, whether it's a buyer's agency agreement or a listing contract, how many of them actually end up with a buyer or somebody wanting to buy their house? And for me, it's pretty high. You are going to have some fallout. It's going to happen. Like I said, a buyer all of a sudden can't buy anymore, or a seller all of a sudden got cold feet and decided, you know what, I'm staying in my house. Those things happen. So you are going to lose some deals. So this shouldn't be 100, but it should be high. And then the last one is of all of those contracts where you end up with a buyer and seller, how many of them actually make it to the closing table at the title company? Once again, that number should be relatively high. For me this year, it's probably more like 95%. I only had one deal fall out this year. Lucky me. It doesn't happen for everybody. I've had multiple deals fall out over a year, but this year was really good for me. And think about it, guys. There's so many checkpoints along the way from the day you sign your contract to the day you close at the closing table that you know whether or not this deal is going to make it all the way through. There should really be very few surprises on closing day. All right. So really that number should be really high for you. I'll pause there. Any questions on these set of boxes? Awesome. We're going to save and continue. Now, it's going to say what's next. I'm going to go ahead and skip all of the screenshots over here, and I'm going to show you what's next. So you can just go back to the home screen if you want to. You can go to Smart Plans and do some more Kelly guides if you want to, or we can actually go and view our goals now based upon everything we just stuck in the system. All right, so, oops, got to move my little picture over here. Let's talk through what we just entered in the system. So I told the system that I wanted to have 25, let me find it here. Oops, I got to change this to 2021, sorry. Here we go. If you remember back here, I told it, find my numbers. I told it that I had, this isn't matching up here. Hang on, guys. Oh, I've got a team here too, so I've got to be careful. Here we go. So you can see, we just said, hey, I want to make 25,000 in profit. I'm paying Keller Williams 23,000 and I have 85,000 in expenses. When you add all of that up, it says, Rick, you need to have $133,000 in gross commission income in order to be able to fund this perfect life. So then it even gives me what I call a recipe card for my success. So if I scroll back up here, here is everything I need to do this year in order to make this $133,000. So let's break this down, and it's going to seem scary at first. So I'm going to skip this lead thing, and we'll talk about it in a minute. This is telling me that, Rick, in order for me to make this $133,000 right here, I need to add 726 contacts to my database. And you may think, oh my God, I don't know 726 people. You will, I promise you. Because if we take our handy dandy calculator and I take 726 and divide that by 52 weeks in the year, that's 14 new contacts a week. If I divide that by 5 work days in the year or in a week, that comes to 2.8 names, or let's just call it 3 names a day that I need to add into my database. So yeah, I could go to the gas station and talk to a teller and she says, yeah, my brother John is looking to sell his house. There would be one for sure. But there's easier ways of doing this. This system will advertise for me through Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat. There's all kinds that it'll advertise through now. When I advertise on Facebook, I usually get somewhere between 20 and 30 leads that dump into my database. that become contacts for me. So when you break it down that way, that I can dump 30 contacts into my database just from a campaign, this number is very, very achievable. 3 a day, and you will have that 726 contacts. The next thing, based upon those numbers I plugged in, it's going to say, okay, if you enter 726 contacts, Rick, you need to make 37 appointments. So think about that. I just told it I want to make $133,000, which for many of you guys will be the best year financially you've ever had. There's not a lot of people that make over six figures. And it's saying, Rick, you can do this by setting 37 appointments. Well, simple math will tell you there's 52 weeks in the year. That's not even one appointment a week. And I can make $133,000. Think about that. I should be setting at least one appointment a week, which would supersede 133,000. But we give you the gift and say, hey, take some weeks off, guys. You only need 37 appointments. Now, of all the appointments I set, remember I convert 95% of those into appointments kept. That means I need to keep 34 appointments over the course of the year. And of those 34 appointments, I need to get 30 of them on paper. So that is really an important number for me. So now if I take my 30 divided by 52 weeks in a year, that comes to 0.57. So the best way for me to think about it, I need to write a contract roughly every other week. So by the end of January, if I don't have 2 contracts written, chances are I'm not going to earn my $133,000 that I'm striving for the year. Does that make sense? This is where we call it a 411, taking our yearly goal, breaking it down into 12 monthly goals, and then breaking it down into 4 weeks in each month. 1 year, 1 month, 4 weeks. It's an easy way for me to track it. Next week is week 2, and if I don't have a contract written, I know I'm already off the mark. And that's why you're able to always go back in here and massage your goals if needed. I'm hoping that by the end of January, I have 4 contracts. And then maybe this isn't enough profit for me. Maybe I need to look at making $50,000 in profit and go back in and let it change my numbers here, my recipe for success. So of the 30 contracts, 26 of them need to physically make it to a whole buyer or seller situation, and then 25 of them need to close out. So if I'm not at the title company every other week, I'm off the mark. This up here, this 14,527 numbers, this is actual activities that you have done with your clients. So you can see for last year, I did 1,850 activities. You may say, my God, that's a lot. It's really not, because the system does so much of it for me. You can see I have 422 smart plans that were executed this year, meaning that the system was just emailing my clients on my behalf. I don't want to say without me knowing it, because I knew it was happening because I told it to do that, but I didn't have to do the physical labor. It automatically emailed and texted my clients for me, so they knew I was keeping them top of mind. It sent out 200 texts on my behalf. It sent out 518 emails. I had 199 clients look at neighborhood searches through my website. I added 83 notes. So every single thing you do with a contact is tracked for you. And then all of a sudden you start to learn that, hey, I'm pretty good with the smart plans. And hey, it's getting me some business. This is where I want to spend my time. You're not going to see me on a Monday morning at 8 o'clock picking up the phone and cold calling people. It's not my thing. But my thing is door knocking. I love to talk to people face to face and tell them I'm a real estate agent. I love using technology like smart plans to stay in front of my clients. And oh, by the way, I've got a little bell up here as well. And if I ever automatically send an email or text message and they contact me back, I usually get a notification here that says, hey, Rick Swain replied to your smart plan and is ready to go visit a home. So the system is very intuitive and works for you. I want to show you just very quickly. If I were to go to one of my contact cards, you'll see what I'm talking about here about the system tracking you. I'll plug in here again. Let me find somebody I know I've dealt with here so you can see. Let's go Christina Anderson when she pops up here. go to my database. There she is. So you can see here, I had a phone call with her. She actually called me and said, Rick, I'm ready to buy another investment property. So I just went in here and I added an activity and said, hey, she called me and wants to buy an investment property in February. And oh, by the way, I also added a task to make sure I call her February the 1st to say, okay, are we ready to go start looking at investment properties? You can see that I own this contact, whole different training subject, but when you have a team, you can own contacts and your rainmaker can own contacts. You can see here, I sent an email to her and the system tracked it for me because I was logged into Command. I can click right here and see, and it'll pull that email up for me. So there's no hunting and pecking. The system is tracking everything I'm doing with my client. And oh, by the way, I have her on a smart plan and it's a home anniversary. And it tells me, hey, I need to send her a gift and call her about her home anniversary. So the system is so intuitive and works so great for you. But that's really what the reports are in a nutshell, is going into goal setting, popping in your 2021 goals, and then really understanding what your recipe is here on how to make that kind of money. So let me stop share and let's ask some questions. Was that like way too much too fast? Good. Good. I tell you, it's
question.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Okay, so I set my goals like the last week of December.
Yep.
And I went back into Command and I clicked on goals and it looks different than yours.
It will a little bit because I'm a rainmaker, so I've got some team functionality in my Command a little bit. Do you want to share, excuse me, do you want to share your screen?
I don't know how.
All right, I tell you what, let's get you on a Zoom call with me. And
Okay.
what we can do is then I can work with you one-on-one and look at your screen and figure out what's going on. Chances are, if I go back and share my screen here real quick, chances are it's probably in a pull down here that make sure you've got your 2021 goals there. Make sure you're showing this year since we have flipped over. Because
Oh, that's what I did wrong.
yeah, it's tricky that last week of the year
Yeah.
because this year becomes last year and all that kind of crap.
Yeah, it says 2020 goals and I didn't
There you go.
reset it to 2021.
Yep. I've done it too, many times. What else,
So
guys?
I'm okay.
Good.
Is there anything different we have to do if we're on a team, like with system calculations? Does it?
No, the only different, Liz, is you would have a different cost of sales, right? So your cap is different than an individual agent. You're down to $10,000, but you give away a lot of your income too, right, to your rainmaker. So the only thing different would just be your cost of sales would go down.
Okay.
And you would have very little expenses because your rainmaker picks up most of your expenses.
Rick, that brings up a point that Elizabeth brought this up the other day, and I'm glad she brought it up again with you. Elizabeth probably needs to have a phone call with you because a lot of the stuff that we were working on the other day when we were putting contacts in and all that kind of stuff, and getting into DocuSign and, you know, just building opportunities and all those things, we couldn't do with Elizabeth because she is on a team.
Yep.
So that's going to be a one-off.
Yeah, it kind of is because when you're a team, you need to do all of your opportunities under the rainmaker. As an individual agent, you can't make your own opportunity. But since you have an operations admin on the Timco team, you want to work with her instead of me to make sure that she is doing the team side for you to show you exactly where she wants things, if that makes sense.
I'm actually meeting with her this afternoon.
Perfect.
Perfect. Would you have her help you build that practice folder? Elizabeth, remember that practice opportunity we talked about so that you can go in, because those of you that weren't on Tuesday, when you go into Command, a lot of what we're going to train over the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks is in command. And so if you've missed training on Tuesday, make sure you catch up. It's on the YouTube channel, but I need you to go in and I need you to set your goals like Rick showed you how to do. I need you to build an opportunity that's going to be a practice opportunity, because it's critical, because we're going to mess with that through the entire command pipeline to get you to a closing, to the point that I'm going to help you build your commission for that fake transaction that we're building.
Love that.
Yeah. And what I want you to do is make mistakes and break it and fail. And so we need everybody to do that. And I also need, like I said, I need you to put your contacts or your goals in command, because I push and push and push. And I'm glad Rick's on here, because now I'm really going to preach to you guys for a second. You got to put your numbers in your spreadsheets. You've got to report your numbers. I actually report your numbers to Rick every Monday. I report them to my MAPS coach, which is paid for by Ginger. And I'll just tell you guys that. And I'm accountable to Rick. I'm accountable to Ginger to tell them what you guys are doing. So those of you that think I'm just being a pain in the rear, yeah, I am, because, well, leadership wants to know your numbers. And I need you to share that with the other people in PC, because I would love 1 week to have 100% everybody put all their numbers in. That would make my week.
Yeah.
All right, I'm off my soapbox.
That's good. And guys, I want you to understand, Barry's not being a pain in the butt. One of the things that's true about real estate is 80% of agents are out of the business within the first 3 years. And by pushing you to make your calls and pushing you to build your sphere of influence and build your database, all of those things are protecting you to get you in business quickly, so you have income coming in and you're not one of those statistics that leave after 3 years. That's why we do this. It's not to be a pain in your side. It's to hold you accountable and get you going, get you making some money quickly. Excellent. Any other questions about goal setting? Okay. The thing Barry's asked you to put your goals in. I just ask that you come up with that annual goal that's so critical and just break it down into 12 months. If you can do that, at least you've got a recipe to know if you're going to be financially sound by the end of the year. And hopefully not only financially sound, but sticking some money in your pocket and walking away from this business this year saying, damn, I killed it. Okay. All right. As always, I'm here for you guys. Barry, thank you for allowing me to teach the class. I appreciate it. And you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, you bet. Bye-bye now.